give it up. I'm so done with you. They kill me slow. Done with you.
What's up, everybody? Battle Gemini here. This is like my second time trying to record this video because I didn't realize my mic was cut off. With all that being said, today we're going to be watching the debate between Stevie, I think his name is Stevie Knight, and Abba from Abba and Preach. They're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk, so this is going to be a little bit of a touchy topic, but I'm not finna hold back how I feel. We're going to get right into it. Let's do it.
So let's get started. So Stevie, you watched our video and you had some critiques for it. So yeah, let me know what you think we was getting wrong in regards to how we handled this Charlie Kirk situation.
Well, I wanted to keep what
that's crazy. Throwing the bottle like that mid debate. This nigga's flexing on him.
felt was wrong towards the end, but
damn, nigga got me thirsty.
I think it's differing in opinions, which is fine. That's what we're here for, man. But if I can recall correctly, the beginning of it, it was more like you were talking about how the right wants to, or we need to tone it down, or I don't want to say we, right? It was more like focusing on the right versus the left. You know what I mean? And you felt a way about, I'm assuming what your intent was, is focus on the right. Now we need to tone it down, and we're doing the same thing that the left was doing, bro. And you know, where I differ in opinion with you as far as this whole situation is that I don't think anything should be toned down if we're highlighting, if we're focusing on the right people. You know what I'm saying? Right. I think that the right versus left is being overhyped, which makes sense because we're divisive as hell in society, man. But you know, the demons are demoning. You know what I mean? And regardless if it's right or left, I feel like, you know, these people need to be held accountable, and we need to zero in on these individuals. And I don't think a toning down at all will work.
So this is a little contradictory, but let's talk about it. You say you want to focus on the evil people. Let's get some context on this whole situation and see who commits the most political violence in our country, because the immediate narrative after the death of Charlie Kirk was that this is left-wing violence. The left needs to stop. They were trying to push this agenda that a lot of political violence in the U.S. comes from the far left. What's up, everybody? Future Gemini here real quick. I just wanted to add this because I kind of got some information wrong, but my stance was that the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, the pervasive narrative was that the far left political violence has to stop, and there is an overwhelming amount of far left political violence, which isn't the case. And I know that because the DOJ, within the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, removed a report actually that focused on what types of groups commit the most politically or ideologically motivated violence, right? And in the following of September 2025, there was a removal of a study on political violence from the Department of Justice. Several news outlets republished information from the report, which indicated that far-right extremism has accounted for significantly more political motivated violence in the US than other types of extremism. So here's a quick little Google search. All I searched up was political violence graph that was removed from the government website. And this is the immediate thing that comes up, right? The study titled "What NIJ Research Tells Us About Domestic Terrorism" was removed in the days after the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. And this is kind of some of the hypocrisy that I wanted to explain. This is not to minimize the death, but to further contextualize all the events that led up to and after the death, and also give us an idea of some of the trends that we see with politically motivated violence in the US. You could also see here ideologically motivated deaths. The report showed that between 1990 and early 2024, far-right extremists were responsible for 227 events that resulted in over 520 deaths, while far-right extremist deaths during the same period, far-left extremists were found to have committed 42 ideological motivated attacks, resulting in 78 deaths. The official reason the DOJ, which houses the NIJ, initially stated it was reviewing its website and materials in accordance with recent executive orders. The page was later updated to a standard page not found message, and the DOJ has declined further comment. Now, why would you think that the DOJ would decline further comment on why they took the original study down, give us no context as to why, when they put up a new graph, all of a sudden, far left politically motivated violence from 1990 all the way to 2024 or 2025 has peaked all of a sudden. It is the problem. And I say all of this to show the hypocrisy in how the left is constantly held to this ridiculously unreasonable moral standard, while the right gets to muddy the waters, push their agenda in any way, shape, or form possible. Let's see what they have to say. Back to the video. Let's hear what Abba has to say about that.
Given the climate.
Okay.
And, I'm not going to say I felt some type of way at the beginning.
And I also want to say I don't feel like talking about the context and the history and how these things happen, I don't think it minimizes his death. In fact, I think it gives it more clarity on why his death occurred.
When we're focusing on, like, the emphasis of your video was to highlight Charlie, and then you were trying to compare it to other things that may have happened that were similar. Sure. And I think that's taking attention away from, the elephant in the room, which is Charlie Kirk situation, which we never had a situation like this happen ever,
And that's just not true. America is an extremely violent nation. We have school shootings that happen year round. Literally within the last month, there was over, I want to say like 27. I could be wrong on that. Quick side note here. It's absolutely worse than I thought. Over 49 mass shootings in the US in the month of September alone. Damn! Situations like this happen all the time. We literally just saw a couple of years ago, they tried to take out our president, a current sitting president. This is not a one-off unique thing that has just happened. This has been happening in our culture, been happening in our country. It's just now a certain group of people are taking notice to it after denying that it was happening, right? And so if you want to talk about how to change these things, we should, again, look at the context, contextualize the information that we're receiving, look at the history and the patterns that happen within our country, right? Within our country's history. And then also, another part about this is looking at gun reform, right? If you want to have a serious conversation about it, and I'm very pro-gun. Don't get me wrong. I like having guns, but if you think that at the rate of which how easy it is, everybody could get a gun right now, even people who aren't fit to have said gun, that's a conflict of interest, because on one hand you want this violence to stop, but you don't want to also make it harder for individuals who are violent to obtain these things, to commit violent acts. There's more than just this surface level of let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We're gonna be focusing on things that have been in our culture that might need to change
because of the social media and the fact that everyone was able to see it. You know what I'm saying? And that makes the situation a whole lot different than anything that's happened in the past as far as a murder of this magnitude. And, it seems that you were minimizing the impact of what happened to Charlie.
Okay.
And I just also find this so interesting that a lot of right-leaning sentiment is that this is how the left was reacting, is that they're minimizing the violence of this. But niggas, don't y'all remember in 2018, Lil Niggas was doing the George Floyd challenge? This is such a bizarre thing for me to see in real time, because it's y'all were literally doing the same exact shit, but actually doing heinous shit, making jokes about the death of a man who was brutalized against his own will. Y'all continuously criminalize people that don't fit your bill. And that's the problem I have with a lot of this shit, right? Because we take a look at those two situations. Those are two heinous things that happened, right? But I'm supposed to laugh about one and not joke about the other, or I'm supposed to laugh about one and that person deserves it, but the other side of that is I need to cry or feel bad, and we need to talk about good versus evil because it's a good versus evil problem, but you guys aren't actually focusing on the right thing. Anyways, I'm gonna keep it going.
What?
And
Let's
Yeah,
get
go
through
ahead.
this.
I'm gonna keep rolling now. I'll let you.
No, go for it. If you're still on this one, I just didn't want to move from this topic, but
I don't want to roll out like 10 things and have you.
yeah. It's always better to go point by point. I think
Yeah,
so.
maybe we should go one for one.
Yeah.
So, it felt like, from my end, it felt like it was a right versus left type of thing, and you know what I mean. From how you were describing it, you know, right's doing this, the left's doing this, and you're saying it's hypocritical of the right to be complaining about the same things that the left is doing, or what the right is implying that we're doing. And to me, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about, we isolate, you know, the evil, the degenerate shit that's going on. And when we try to minimize or just bring up the comparison between Charlie Kirk and everything else, it minimizes the tragedy that everyone just witnessed and like the impact it had on everyone, man. So I feel like it's deflecting from it, and it's like you know, Charlie Kirk, his tragedy was important, but other things has happened, and the right was doing the same thing. So it's kind of like, no, it is, to me, it's minimizing, you know.
But you have to ask yourself, what was the narrative immediately after the death happened? What was the narrative? Was it that we all need to join arms and stop political violence in the U.S.? Or was it an immediate attack on the left?
Got you. So I think there's 2 points in there. One being the hyper focusing on right versus left. You felt like we did that too much. And the second part is minimizing Charlie Dess's murder. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to go to the first point, I did have that in my notes. I think in your video at around 2-minute mark, you said that I was minimizing Charlie Kirk's murder by comparing it to other political violences or like contextualizing it in the way that I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm minimizing it. I disagree with that characterization for a few reasons. I think it's natural when someone dies that we try to understand why. That's why people love murder mystery. That's why people, every time someone dies, they want to know who the perpetrator is. They want to know who their motivations are.
And that's exactly what I was saying.
Is generally something that we see as incredibly heinous. And so understanding what led to that is always important. When I'm not comparing, this is not the right word. What I'm doing is that I'm
just disagree with murder. Like, I guess in general, people do think murder is pretty heinous. I don't feel like a lot of people would feel the same way depending on who is being murdered. But, you know, that's just my take. I think it is a context thing. But I would say for the majority of people, yeah, murder is a pretty, like, heinous act you could do upon somebody.
He wasn't murdered in a vacuum.
And I'm not saying that I think it's justifiable. I just noticed that a lot of people could come up with a lot of ways to justify murder. That's all I'm saying.
Wasn't a crime of passion. This was an individual who's incredibly troubled, and he was and he decided to go out and murder somebody for their political opinions, their affiliation, maybe because they had mentally ill issues. Who knows? But there's a landscape, and there's a lot of things that lead up to this murder. It's always important to examine these things, because if we don't understand how we got here, then we're going to be doomed to repeat it. It's never, in my opinion, a bad thing to contextualize any world event, provided you contextualize it fully, right? That you, or at least you try to, because without context, then all that happened was that someone was shot. Context is everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, to that point, that makes total sense what you're saying, but to me, it didn't come across that way when you voiced that in the video. It seemed like you were trying to,
and I can't really
highlight the divide.
I can't really talk about what his video entails because I haven't seen it personally. So I'm not gonna argue on what it seemed like, but I know right now in this moment it makes complete sense to contextualize everything in its entirety to understand how we got to this point.
Between the right and the left, or whoever the instigators of it are. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't seem like you were trying to get to a root of the problem or how we trying to fix it. It's like, like I said before, I mean, what you're saying now, if you had voiced it that way in the video, I wouldn't have had the mindset that I have in regards to what you said. But in the video, it didn't come across to me like that at all. It felt like... Well,
right now, the pervasive narrative, and this is where it comes to the left versus right thing, the pervasive narrative that's online and that's being espoused by some of the most important people in our political, stratosphere, is that violence of a political nature is solely left-wing.
Yes.
Okay. And I
That
remember
is
at
the
about 3
narrative.
minutes 29 seconds when Matt Walsh is talking in your video, you said that I was interpreting what he's saying when he's talking about good versus evil. It's time for the righteous to prevail over the forces of evil. You were saying that I was making a left versus right thing, right? But that's just not true.
Hold on, well, let me make a correction, because you go further on in the video, I recognize that point. I said, hold up, if Matt Walsh is doing that, highlighting the left like this, that's unfair to do so. Then I went on to saying this makes
But
the
it's
left
not
look
just
bad, it
Matt
makes
Walsh.
the transgenders look
That
bad,
was
it makes
the
everybody
entire,
affiliated to this look bad, like guilty by
point.
association. It's not the right thing to do. It should be a good versus evil thing, right? But then I went on, because you had a couple other videos of people uttering or echoing the same sentiments as far as, you know, righteous and good and evil. But I did highlight Matt Walsh in that video specifically saying, all right, I see that he is describing the left in this manner, and that shouldn't be the move.
Right. But again, at about like 6 to 7 minutes in the video, you kind of do it again where you say that, you know, that's how I'm interpreting a lot of this narrative of good versus evil. But it's not just Matt Walsh. Ben Shapiro said that most of the political violence today is flowing from left-wing movements and ideology. Elon Musk was on Twitter. He said the left is the party of murder. If they won't let us live in peace, then our choice is to fight or die. Alex Jones said the right-wingers are in a war during a live stream. And he said that the left has been put a bullseye on Trump, and he put a bullseye on his supporters. President Trump himself, during an interview, let's see here, let me pull up the clip because I think it's just important to me to get the exact words that he said. On Fox and Friends, he says, we have radicals on the right as well. And he says, I'll tell you how, I can send you the clip you wanted. I'm going to just read it verbatim, his quote.
I believe you, though, bro.
I'll tell you something.
Y'all have been doing this YouTube shit too long to put a blank screen up and not show the quote, the picture of the quote. Anyways.
That's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see more crime. The radicals on the left are the problem. So when I'm talking about right versus left, I'm not talking about someone in a vacuum or someone at home. I'm talking about the most important people in our political discourse, framing most of this violence as I only left. And what you did in the video, and I did appreciate, is that when we said, if you look at the numbers, you know, people got mad because I quoted the ADL, but there's all sorts of things from FBI statistics to different organizations who track terrorist attacks.
Like
most of it comes from religious extremists and then right-wingers. Left-wingers at the bottom of that list, especially over the last 10 years. So I'm not trying to frame this as left versus right. That's the plate that's already been set. Since Charlie Kirk died, the right has not stopped politicizing his death. They haven't stopped using it for fuel for their attacks on the left. And so in that climate, you're asking people to...
He's absolutely right. It has been ongoing, okay? They have been using this to further politicize their agenda, 100%.
Not talk about left versus right, but if the left doesn't, then just right gets to make the narrative that they're the violent ones. And it's just not true.
Well, my opinion is that both should submit. It's not a left and right thing. It's an evil versus good thing. You know what I mean? And that's, I mean, and then it's me watching you, so I'm expecting that to be that should be the point. You know what I mean? It's like what you're doing is adding just, you know, fuel to the fire to what you're saying everybody else is doing. Like you're highlighting the hypocrisy of people complaining about what the left does, seriously, what the right is doing the same thing. You know what I mean? But
isn't that all important to contextualizing what is happening after, in the immediate aftermath, and how these things take place before we got to here?
You know, with that, like I said, with that the Matt Walsh clip, I specified I definitely could tell he was highlighting the left. Well, all that shit is fucking wrong. And I said that in the video.
I agree.
I said that in the video, right? I said that it's not a left versus right thing. It makes everybody look bad. We need to focus on the motherfuckers actually making things horrible for everybody, the extremists, the radicals, all that. You know what I mean? That's what my focus was. I feel like that's what the focus should be for everybody.
Yeah, and I did have that noted in some of the things that I like that you did. I did appreciate that you actually said that, because a lot of people are not saying that, or they're just avoiding the topic entirely. But you have to understand, when I'm watching this video, when I'm watching the discourse, I'm looking at things in totality. So when I'm talking about...
What video are you talking about? When you say you're watching the video, what video?
I think I was looking at a lot of the political coverage in regards to this. I've been looking at the people who are responding, everyone who's been talking about this, and how the public is talking. If you spend time online, they're not talking about this as like both sides. That's not a lot of the discourse. A lot of the discourse, especially from the right, is that they're just saying essentially the left is the violent party. Go check out those comment sections. Go check out a lot of the discourse from the
that's going to happen every time that happens. Every time someone from the left does something crazy, they're going to highlight the left. When the right does something.
So if that's gonna happen no matter what, why is it wrong for ABBA to set the record straight on that issue? That makes no sense.
Something they're gonna highlight the fucking right. It just that comes with the territory.
Right. But it should be noted that we should correct those narratives and say that these are not one-sided.
It's like I could
You
tell
watched
the
our
future.
video. We didn't say violence is only right wing. We said there's plenty of people who've murdered people on the left from the left, and we said that. But the dominant narrative right now is that left wingers are the violent ones, and they're obviously, especially with the most recent murder, it makes sense that it's going to be the dominant narrative. But it's important to not let those lies be able to be spread and to say, actually, guys, you're wrong. In fact, this year there's been other people who've been killed. You said we were minimizing his death by bringing up these other murders, but those deaths are part of this discussion. The same thing that led to those people being killed is the exact same thing that led to Charlie Kirk being killed. And it's important to know that, because if we don't understand that, then all this is just going to happen again. You said it was different in your video because Charlie Kirk died.
And I just want to put it on the record. I used to be like big into ABBA and Preach before I like really got heavy into politics and stuff. Nowadays, I will admit, they be flip-flopping. I don't agree with a lot of their takes as much, but this one right here, I could definitely stand behind. Makes a lot of sense. Wow, that's a crazy screenshot. Bro's eyes going like this.
Oh my God, what the fuck?
On camera, nobody was supposed to see that. You remember that you saying that?
Yeah.
Right. To me, I understand that the fact that he died on camera makes it much more graphic, much more in your face.
Yeah,
but
it
at
makes
the end
it
of the day,
real.
murder is murder.
Because it
dying
happens.
is dying. Someone is
But
victimized.
it's the effect that it has on society. It's not the same. In a vacuum, it's the same. But if people were able to see that video until the end of time now,
Sure.
right, they're able to see that man go out the way that he did, and knowing up until this, I can't compare someone else that had the amount of influence Kirk had. You know what I mean? And
You can't compare, bro.
If he hadn't.
You can't compare
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
another death that was public. Man, we're cooked. We're so cooked.
Been murdered in front of everyone at once, your analogy, your comparison will be fair, man. But
Okay,
can
can I ask you something?
You can't minimize it.
If Kirk was not killed on camera, if Kirk's not killed on camera, is this situation more or less tragic?
It's less tragic.
So dying on camera makes a murder worse?
No, not the murder worse, but
Nah,
the
it
effect
just
that has on the
makes you
people is worse because
able
everybody
to
can see it.
actually
It makes it
internalize
different. It makes it different. But from a moral standpoint, it's the exact same. There's no
Yeah.
difference morality. It's just more
Morality is
shocking.
a different conversation. I'm talking about tragedy. Morality is the same. I'm talking about the effects it's having on society.
Yeah, but if I'm talking about other murders, if I'm talking about other murders,
I think it would be politicized just the same way. I think the reaction would happen the same way. I do think, though, there would be more disconnect on how serious the events that took place is. I think it would just only kind of water that down, but I think nonetheless there would still be outrage. There would still be a lot of this polarizing rhetoric going around.
talking about the moral aspect of it. But that doesn't mean that we can't contextualize it with those other murders. You say it's not comparable, but I disagree. They died for the same reason. They died for the exact same reason.
If you had related that way, trying to bring up the similarities and how you conveyed it just now, it would make more sense. But that's not at all how you conveyed it in the video. It came from, you know, a leftist bias type of perspective from my end, that you were trying to minimize it by bringing up other similarities. You didn't bring up you didn't bring anything up about it being moral or same morally. You were just saying, to summarize it, you know, Kirk died, everybody else died, and this happens with political violence.
Yes, because what I'm getting at is not how he died, or like in front of who that he died. What I'm focused on is why was he killed?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me say I agree with you. You know, let's do a different exercise. Let's say I agree with you. These are different to a degree. So what's your point? Shouldn't contextualize his murder?
Well, in your video, it didn't feel like you were contextualizing it. If I felt personally that you
And this is
contextualized it,
just not a good, this is not a good debate practice. Like, it didn't feel like that's what you were doing. for obvious reasons.
Get to the root of a problem, then we wouldn't be here today. But I felt like your intent was to minimize Kirk's death by bringing up all these things that happened.
I would argue that you are minimizing his death by not contextualizing it properly. If you don't talk about why something happened and how we got here, then all you're doing is just describing a tragedy.
I'm not talking about why. I'm just focused on your video.
Yes, but if you're going to counter my narrative and say that I'm wrong for
Hold on, y'all. Let me
But the flooding of just random people out here saying the most sadistic shit, like I've never seen anything. Like, what would you compare this situation to that you've seen since you've been walking the God's green earth?
What would I compare what situation?
What's there's nothing to compare it to.
Compare what and what?
Like the response, the demonic, the evil responses people have had to it, shitting on his grave, cussing him out, fuck Kirk and his mom and his
bro. I was on social media enough to see shit, man. Like a couple days after Trayvon Martin was dead, motherfuckers had a trend that went viral to say that it's called Trayvoning. They would stay there and lay the exact same position as.
Bro, what did I say? What did I say? I said George Floyd, but it makes no difference. The fact is, it's hypocrisy to the highest degree.
How he was killed. They did the same thing with George Floyd. Remember after he died, motherfuckers sat on the floor while someone had their neck and they would take these pictures. Look it up. I didn't even make it up. You can find these things. There's so many examples of people laughing at people dying because they didn't like them and they didn't like what they stood for. That happens all the time. And these aren't even political people. These aren't even political people.
These are just everyday people.
It might not have been to this scale or in this terms of virality. I'll agree with you there, but I'm just saying people celebrate death. It happens. Paul Pelosi, that was another example. He was he was a 67-year-old man, and a lot of people were hashtagging and laughing about his death, and they were saying,
I give you the one-off, so like I'm not gonna say it's an absolute thing that nobody was out here doing it, but there was way too many this time, bro. There's way too many this time, and I was surprised.
No, I think it's just that it finally showed up on your side of the internet because it's somebody that you probably listen to or is adjacent to people that you listen to.
About the fucking world, and I was extremely surprised
but
to see that amount of fucking
going
there's
crazy.
Nothing I can categorize, label it as outside
all
of fucking
the same,
evil, but people I didn't fucking expect, even people that
all the same like happenings that Abba just spoke on. It was just as bad, and let me tell you. I wouldn't say like just as bad, like the virality of it probably is just more because it is a current figure who is kind of like in the eyes of everybody, you know, like he's in front of a lot of people. But I mean, there was a lot on the same level. I just think the internet has kind of gotten away from us at this point. So yeah, when things kind of do snowball, they snowball a little harder, but it doesn't change the fact that there was motherfuckers celebrating those deaths, and where was this, you know, those are evil people. Where was that same type of attitude when it came to those people?
I know personally, brother, I didn't even think have that type of shit in them is out here celebrating a man's death that way. When they got close to home for me, that's when the fucking opened the doors for me, bro.
Yeah, but that's my point. I get how you feel. I get the whole, you know, like the sensation of like, you know, this world is a dark place and like we can't even negotiate with it.
I'm not even gonna say the world's a dark place. I'm just saying that.
Well, you said you had no hope, so that's why I'm saying that. When you say you have no hope,
I'm saying there's no hope for these motherfuckers. You may give them hope. I'm not. They can burn.
Okay. I just, if you can take away one thing is, you know what I mean? What you was telling me earlier, you know what I mean? You can't approach the world's problem from a hyper emotional place. And that's what you're doing right now. You're letting the passion and the emotion of the moment govern how you're viewing the world. Yes, you are.
You misquoting me, bro. Yeah, there's no talking to them, bro. There's no talking to any of these extremists, these evil motherfuckers out of their frame of mind until
extremism the same way you could talk people into extremism. It's just simply not true. You can reason with people. You know, not everybody's gonna change, but it doesn't mean that just because not everybody's gonna change their ways that we shouldn't stop talking to them and trying to fix the problem.
They take their own journey to do it. I'm not gonna sit here wasting my time trying to take them out when they're not ready to have that conversation.
See, if you're not willing or you're not interested in that discussion, that's fine. But saying that there's no way to talk people out of forms of extremism.
Yeah, there is a way. There's a way. I'm just saying I'm not signing up for it. You can. I'm not.
Okay. All right then. Yeah. Okay. But that's very different. If you're saying there is a way and these people can be redeemed, then by definition they're not evil. They're just in an evil space right now.
But I don't know.
What do you think? What do you think about people calling the memorial like nationalist
So I'm not gonna
convention.
speak on it.
I mean, a lot of it was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even want to talk about it, to be honest with you, because it takes away from her moment, and she's the most important person there. But all the other people who got up on stage, even Trump, I thought Trump was disrespectful, to be honest. He's saying like, I disagree with her. I hate my opponents. Like, why would you say that?
And then let's not forget Stephen Miller plagiarizing Nazi speech at that event.
That man's memorial when his wife said what she said. Like,
He's
shut
an active member in this administration.
the fuck up. You know what I mean? If the wife is not gonna say it, how dare you say some shit like that? But I don't even want to make it about that because I think
I'm just gonna
I'm probably
stop it
gonna
here,
cover it,
though.
and I'm probably just gonna
But anyways,
talk about her message because like I couldn't believe he said that shit after her, and I feel like it took away from her moment with hatred. And it's just like,
either way,
I don't know, like
whether
why?
you agree with what
I-
she said or not in the thing, which, like I said, I can't really speak to because I did see the clips and the speech that Donald Trump said and some of the other people, and they definitely were wild, absolutely wild. And like I said, you know, Stephen Miller went up and actually plagiarized like he kind of did a mismatch of two different Nazi speeches. So take that as you will, bro.
I don't know. I hated
Trump. No, Trump was being Trump. You would expect him to say. I expected him to say that shit, bro. Trump is just a dog.
bro, but that shit was like, you gotta be.
He's added more fuel to the flame. I get
Yeah,
it.
you got to be sociopathic to use that man's memorial for that, though. Like, is there no line? Are you going to literally
There
sit at
is
his
no
grave to
line.
do his speech? Like, I don't know. To me, it's just
bar
kind of
is
like,
in hell.
that was crazy. If that's my funeral,
Motherfuckers at my funeral, they better be on some Trump shit. If I got shot like Kirk did, motherfuckers better. I don't want no kumbaya. I don't want nobody forgiving shit.
fair. If that's you, I agree. If that's your message, that's not Kirk's message. That's not his wife's message.
I feel
You know what I mean? Like,
I would
could never-
disagree with
like,
that
you-
because that was Kirk's message, whether you agree with it or not. I would disagree with that heavily. I think all of them politically aligned, and all of them have this very like ultra Christian nationalist, you know, neo-Nazi-esque kind of political ideology. So I would disagree with that.
Think about
completely.
this, man. You know, even for Charlie, may not have liked the dude's politics, but he didn't deserve that for sure. And that shit, what happened to him was disgusting. And I hope that we really can stem the tide of political violence because I think where we're going is a dark
You
place.
think that we can stem the tide of political violence? You really think that?
I think if
Yes,
you
we can.
and I and
And we stop letting people who are calling for violence on marginalized groups of people. We could stop this violence if we stop promoting ultra-nationalist rhetoric. We could stop this political violence when we actually take a look at what's causing the political violence. So I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I had a lot of fun making this video. I think it helped give me an avenue for some of the things I wanted to say on this whole situation. But you guys let me know what you think and have a wonderful day. I'll see you later.
Give it up.